So today we're going to go to my studio in Fort Lauderdale and we're going to talk about alignment. Alignment for Warrior Two, alignment for triangle, and variations of triangle. To me, alignment's everything. It's like the key that unlocks that door. It's going to open up your body, open up your practice, transform it. So stay tuned for this video. Hi everybody, my name is Jimmy Barkan. I've been teaching yoga, hot yoga, since 1981. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit that notification bell, and hit that like button. If you're not new to the channel, welcome back. Warrior Two Triangle. Now, in the Bikram, Vishnu, Ghosh world, where I come from, that's my lineage, they don't separate between the two poses. They use Warrior Two as like a setup for triangle. I like the differences. I like to show and establish that Warrior Two triangle. So why did they call it Warrior Two? It was named after Virabhadrasana, who was a creation of Shiva, and he was created to protect the god and goddesses on the battlefield. So Virabhadrasana would take his warrior stance and sling the arrows at the demons to protect the god and goddesses. Now, triangle, practiced by many different lineages. In fact, Yoga Journal, which is like the top magazine in the West for yoga, they did an article about 25, maybe 30 years ago about 6 different triangles from 6 different lineages. And they showed how their alignment was different, and they all claimed to be traditional in their own right, and they deserve that right. I'm going to show you the difference between our triangle and different variations of it. So let's get to the studio. So we're going to start from our standing position. Now in the Barkan method hot yoga class, we start from the standing position. But in the Vinyasa class, we start from downward dog. For those of you that are Bikram people, you're used to seeing it from the standing position, so we'll do it from there. So it's Janice, with the lovely sister Janice. She's going to start with her feet together, arms overhead. And she's going to step out to the side, and her arms are going to come down in one motion. She steps out 4 feet, boom. Look how nice and strong that was. She's establishing her warrior energy. Virabhadra was the king of the warriors, so they named this pose after him. Virabhadrasana, king of the warrior pose. So now Janice is going to turn her left foot to the left, and what we do, our particular alignment is heel to heel. Other styles of yoga go heel to arch in this position. So bring your foot back again. Yeah, if she were to turn on her toes and bring her heel forward, she would no longer be heel to heel. So what you want to do, come back again, you're going to turn on your heel with the toes up, turn out the heel, and now her foot is parallel to the mat. Her right foot's going to turn in just a little bit, and this could be, depending on how flexible you are, how long your legs are, you may want to turn your foot parallel, you may want to turn it in slightly, and now she's going to bend her left knee and lower her right hip. That's the key. We're going to lower the hip down to where the thigh is parallel to the floor. Many of you are not going to be able to do that, so I'm going to have Janice come up a little bit. A lot of you are going to be here. Don't make yourself wrong for it. This is just where you're starting. From here, you're slowly going to bend the knee and lower the hip. But you got to anchor your position. So how do we anchor it? Big toe mound of your left foot. That's like the ball of the foot. Pushes into the ground, and the outside knife edge, so if I stood here on the outside of her foot and pressed down, I just stabilized her position, and she can hold this much longer with more stability as I'm pushing down. So that's what you have to do. First big tip, push that right heel, outside of your right foot down, and that'll allow you to lower down more into this position. So now that we've established the warrior position, and she's looking over her left shoulder, we've established the warrior position. Now in Bikram yoga, like I said before, they don't even call it warrior, it's just like the triangular setup. But it's the exact same thing, because now she's going to look over her right shoulder, which is going to help set her chin. Now we're ready to make the transition. And now she's just going to tilt her arms to triangle pose. So let's talk about the first modification. This is for beginners. You can place your forearm on the thigh, because look how nice and high her chest is. That's the whole concept. We want the upper body high and the hip low. So her forearm's on the thigh, which will keep her upper body nice and high. The big mistake people make in this position is they lower their shoulders down to touch their foot. And now look what happens. She's now shifted her upper body way too low. We wanted to bring it up. So the forearm on the thigh is going to give her the stability as a brace, but she's still going to lower this hip down. It's getting the hip down to get the hand down. Now here's the second modification. Now what she can do, the second modification is grabbing her calf muscle with her left hand. And now she can push that left knee back with the left elbow. As she's continuing to keep her right hip forward, it's a slight rotation of this hip, slight rotation, keeping the chest high and the hip low. And that's the second modification. So remember, it's chest up, hip down. Now if you don't need to modify, let's bring Janice back to Warrior Two again. She's going to look over her shoulder, which is going to set her chin. And now she's going to tilt to triangle, and I like the hand touching the top of the foot. In the Bikram world, they have you touch the big toe. The reason why I'm not crazy about touching the big toe, let's have you touch the big toe, because you see how it drops your upper body down a little bit too much. I want the upper body high, so there's a triangular space, top of her thigh and underneath the arm. So touching the top of the foot will do the two things. It keeps the upper body high, and it keeps this hip down. It keeps this hip down. So her hip is slightly forward, and now here's a big one. She's going to rotate her upper torso. So it's like a standing spine twist motion. See how she's rotating her upper torso without letting the hip move. So that's the first isolation or opposite direction. So now we want the outer triangles. That means right arm on top of the left arm. Look how nice and vertical it is. That means you could drop this left shoulder, lift your chest, get the arms vertical. Then the left foot across the floor to the right foot's the horizontal line. And now the diagonal line's the key, because this is the key. Right foot up that leg, up the hip, up the shoulder, that diagonal line. Look how beautiful her triangle is carved out. Now a lot of you, again, like I said before, you bring your hip up a little bit, Janice, are going to be up here. Your goal is to lower yourself down, not by lowering the shoulders, but by lowering the hip, but keeping the chest high. Now before we go into the next pose, which is going to be extended side angle, I'm going to have Janice come back up to warrior for a second. Now one thing you can do to really help set your neck and your shoulders, when you're in warrior pose, you can lift your shoulders, turn your elbows in. See what it does to her shoulders? Now she's going to turn her hands back out again. Look how it created more space between her neck and her ears. She's creating length in her neck. And then when she goes to triangle, she's going to flip her palms and tilt the triangle. Now, here's another, last thing I want to talk about in triangle. This may torque your neck. Let's say your neck is being torqued as you bring your chin into your shoulder. And I learned this from a wonderful Yankar teacher named Elise Miller. What you can do is you can take this left ear and take it over to your left shoulder. And then just watch how her neck changes now. She's going to rotate her head back to her chin touches her right shoulder. So you can try that, and you can see the length. It really lines up the back and the neck vertebrae so beautifully. Okay, now let's bring us to our first variation, which we call extended side angle, or we nicknamed in the Barkan method world, Qatar Hero. So she can take her right arm, she's going to parallel her leg, swing it around. And now, like the compass pose, which is a whole nother video, she's going to rotate her upper torso back and her hip stays forward, and it's the same position as triangle. As she lowers her hip down, the upper body twists back, and look how nice her leg and her arm create the extended angle. Now I'm going to have Janice come up and turn the other direction for the next pose. So I want you to see, when we do bound triangle, the different angles. So she's going to come to this side of the mat, face that direction, step out to the side. Go to warrior two, and a triangle goes to extended side angle. And now she's going to take her right hand to her left hip, palm outward facing, and there is the modification. We call it half bound triangle, or Ardha, Baddha Trikonasana. Now, bring your hip up a little bit. Some of you are going to be here. Remember, that's the modification. That's the best you can do. You're going to lower yourself down to eventually you can get parallel. And then eventually you're going to reach through and do the actual Poorna Baddha Trikonasana, or full bind triangular pose. Same thing, the hips coming forward, the torso's twisting back. She's in a nice extended angle. Now she's got the bind happening. We'll go from Ardha. If you're in Ardha, just stay parallel on your mat. If you're in Baddha Trikonasana, bound triangle, we're going to take you to the next level now. So now here's the last amplification, and this is only if you can do a full bind. If you're doing a half bind, you're still going to stay in your lunge, and you want to stay parallel. But if you're in a full bind, which is Poorna Baddha Trikonasana, you can heel toe to the front of the mat. I'm going to help Janice so she doesn't lose her balance. She's going to lift her chest and her legs simultaneously. And the key is to get this left knee as high as you can, straighten her standing leg. And once she gets this left knee up, that creates the leverage for the leg to go then as high as she can to a parallel position. Points the foot and spreads the toes, and looks over her right shoulder to finish the position. And then back to her lunge, and back to the pose. So that's Warrior 2 and Triangle and all the extensions. That's Warrior 2 and Triangle. If you have any questions, or if you're struggling with these two poses, please let me know in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit that notification bell, because I post a new video every week, every Tuesday morning Eastern Time. And hit that like button and share it. Anybody you think may benefit from this video, share it with them on your social media, and I will see you at the next video.